All right, guys, welcome to the summer semester. Let's talk about anatomy and histology. So, beginning with anatomy. So, the summer semester, you will have a lot to deal with this semester, but related to anat, you'll have the neuroanatomy. So, you'll have the CNS credit, which also includes ANS and also the urogenital system. So, don't be confused by the name CNS. You also have the dissection credit. So, of course, you have the dissection classes, and in the dissection credit, they'll basically just ask you to talk about the region you have dissected and ask you a few questions. So it's going to be sort of like a mini spot. We'll be giving you more details on that soon. Then you'll also have the final exam, obviously. Um, don't stress about that now. We'll give you a few details about it, but nothing to scare you so far. We'll keep a seminar later maybe and talk about it more. Classes, you must have figured it out by now. You have one specifically for neuroanatomy or urogenital system, and the other class in the week is for dissection. Class requirements for dissection, you obviously need a lab coat. If you forget one or something, you can borrow it from there, but it is recommended to always bring your lab coat. Dissection tools, you'll need a scalpel with the replaceable blade of 24 and the handle as well, and also the anatomical forceps. Attendance is mandatory in all classes. You'll also have a micro test in each class, obviously. But this is not it. You also have the dissection credit and the other credits to make up for your grade and to get you to credit so that you can actually give the final exam. Micro tests are there for the classes you skip, but they take the reason for your absence very seriously. So make sure to not like skip classes for no reason, basically. Okay, let's talk about exams.
So exam focus and credit requirements, again, like winter semester, you're gonna have,
Ali, we can't hear you.
you can't hear me? Can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, Ali, you can continue.
Okay. Exam focus and credit requirements. Exams will cover CNS and neuroanatomy, as Krish has already mentioned, with autonomic nervous system and Eurogen being the other part. You must have been done, you're just going to finish general system, so they are done with that part, and you start with CNS. So you're going to have that at the end of the semester, which will be close to before your final start. You will give this is a credit exam, and you're going to have two parts to it. Like before, it's going to be your spot exam, just like GIT, and then your written part, which will be of 30 questions, 35 minutes. And you'll have to submit your dissection work, which I will cover in the next slide. You have to 60% across all your evaluations is your magic number for success. Essentially speaking, you need to pass your micro tests. I believe it's a maximum of 6 fails out of 14 of both your normal classes, your CNS classes, and your dissection classes. And your 3 retake opportunities, meaning your first attempt is the one you'll give. You have 2 retake opportunities, with the first being the first attempt you give. So in total, you'll be giving the CNS exam and the spot 3, and for the written part 3, you'll have 3 attempts. And for the final exam, now the retakes will happen in June. Now for the final exam, you need to obtain the credit for ANAT 1 and ANAT 2. So if you don't acquire the credits for either of them, but you finish all the other subjects, you are eligible to ISP anatomy of that particular, so winter semester or summer semester. Unless you pass the final, you cannot, you will not get the credit. If you don't pass the final, you'll not get the credit for anatomy completely. So you don't finish that subject. You have to get the credit for both winter semester, summer semester, then you're eligible for the final. And for the final, we're not going to go into detail right now, but it's just, you'll have 3 parts. The final list should have already been uploaded on Moodle. It has 3 parts to it: the locomotor, GIT, and CNS. You have to learn these. You'll have to learn the questions, because you'll go in the exam. You'll pick a piece of paper, and it'll have 3 questions, one from each topic. So locomotor, GIT, CNS. CNS is again ANS, Eurogen, all of that. It covers that. You'll find that in the final list. You'll write about it, and then you'll go to the professor, and you'll discuss the question. You'll be graded for your answer on each of those three questions, which will be a cumulative. Then you'll be given a cumulative average, which will define, which is really important. It basically reflects on your GPA in our sense. So the closer you are to one, the better your grade is. Krish, can you go to the next slide? Yeah, so dissection, you will have to submit a topographic region image by the 10th practice. And this is either hand-drawn or you can draw it on an iPad. They don't mind either. And you will have to present it in a form of a PowerPoint presentation. So you have to keep that in mind as well. And complete the dissection minimum, which will be provided by the professors. You'll have to know, there's a certain number of, there'll be certain topics and regions you'll have to know for the dissection test, because you'll be tested on those on the basis of that list, which will be given to you by the professors. And you're going to be questioned. There'll be a proper examination where you'll be questioned on your region. Let's say I have the right lower limb, then I'll be tested on everything there. Then they'll take you to other parts of the body and then ask you brief simple questions, and then if they want, they can take you to isolated organs as well. So like they could take you to the heart and ask you questions about the heart. So it's not like you only need to focus on your lower limb. You need to know everything from locomotor and GIT, but since you've already done the spots, you're not in that much of a hassle. And lastly, you can and will be tested during the class, which reflects on the number of fails. So they'll have random tests and if you fail that test, like if you fail to answer the questions properly and they give you a 4, which it counts as one of the fails for your overall micro test list. So if there's 6 out of 14 you can fail, so it will be counted as one of those fails. So you have to keep that in mind. You have to be present, and you should be prepared for each and every class, whether it's dissection or whether it's one of your CNS classes, because they can test you in a dissection. That if that's a fail, you basically lose out on a fail normally. That's pretty much it.
All right, everyone. So I'll be talking about how to get credited. So first of all, in your summer semester, you require 13 credits in order to pass anatomy. And again, we mention attendance. For this time, you must remember that your lab classes are divided into your dissection class and your practical classes. So for each of them, you get 2 excused absences and 1 sick day. So remember that you do not have a total of 4 absences. You must divide it into 2 of them for your 2 different classes. And make sure that you justify the absences within 2 weeks, because if you have the unexcused absence, you might not get the credit and you might not be able to like write the micro test as well. So, and also do not be late for the classes, as once again, the professors might not be lenient. They might not let you write the micro test. You will lose out on that average. So better attend your classes, attend them on time, okay? And then secondly, about your micro tests and credit tests, like it was mentioned before, 60% in all of the tests and 6 fails out of 14 micro tests, but from both your um, the practical micro test as well as the dissection oral test. So in your dissection class, the professor may randomly pick you to answer 3 or 4 questions about your dissection region, and this is also counted into your average. So keep that in mind. Be prepared for your dissection classes. And of course, lastly, the dissection region image submission that Ali had mentioned. And these are your main factors in order to get credit for the anatomy. Can we move on to the next slide? Study tips. Again, most important is to attend all the classes, especially the practical classes and dissection classes. We recommend going to the lectures, and because for CNS it can be quite helpful, to be honest, attending the lectures, but especially attend the practical classes and the dissection classes. Then of course, consistent revision and active recall. Try to revise the topic that you studied before, the day before starting a new topic, and this will especially be helpful for CNS, as it is like a whole story, and understanding the previous part will help you you know uh, help you combine the 2 different topics together and understand them better. Then use Anki or flashcards for neuroanatomy. Watch YouTube videos. We have some recommendations in the next slide. And of course, ask questions and engage in discussions. Next slide, please. Yes, so these are our resources to use. On your Moodle, you will find the neuroanatomy course, which has the notes for each CNS topic, and we highly recommend studying from them as questions are usually based on these notes. And I believe they are like completely fine to use as your main resource. Of course, you can use the YouTube channels we have recommended here to get a better like visualization of each structure, which is very important for CNS. And additional materials like textbooks you can use, that is Platzers, use it mainly for urogenital system. For CNS, once again, we ask you to use the neuroanatomy course, and atlases just for the visualization of the structures. And I believe that is all for the resources for anatomy. And we will be sending you the updates for your microtests in the upcoming weeks for CNS. So you can use them as well to revise the topics to like practice the questions and stuff. So that is it for anatomy. If you have any questions, you can write it in the chat box. All right. If you do not have any questions at the moment, you are free to like message us anytime and to ask any questions you have. So that is it for anatomy. That is all from my side.
Hello everyone, so let's talk about histology and embryology for this semester. Okay, so basically the system is pretty much like what it was last semester. You have one class per week and the attendance and everything is like the same thing as last semester. The only thing different about this sem is that you have to study a subject called embryology. The key point to remember here is that it is not taught to you in your practical classes. It is only mentioned in like lectures and everything. So like they don't teach it to you in practicals and they usually don't talk about it as well. So you need to make sure that you already know when your exam is going to be, and you should obviously attend the lectures as well for guidance because that's the only source of what do you say? That's the only source that the university provides you for embryology. Uh, there are exams which you have to do this semester, which include the histology slide tests and the embryology credit test, which is on an iPad. Like I said earlier, the test days won't be discussed in class. The schedule is already uploaded on Moodle for you guys to see, so you can check when you have embryology and you can study accordingly for it. So the credit requirements, uh, there are histology slide test 3 and slide test 4, and also have the final slide test. So the final slide test consists of the portions from your winter semester and summer semester, and you are going to be given 5 slides, out of which you must identify 4 correctly, and you have to write down the diagnostic features of those of all 5 of your slides on a piece of paper. This is not an oral test, it's only written, but if you end up failing it, then it goes on to being an oral test with the professor later on. For embryology credits, there are 2 credits, embryology 1 and embryology 2. Like I said earlier, please make sure that you know the test dates beforehand and you have to study it side by side along with everything else, along with your micros, because embryology cannot be crammed in a week. So make sure that you keep on studying it consistently. And the last condition for your credit is that attendance. You need to have the mandatory attendances. I think you're allowed 1 absence, and apart from that, you can send a doctor's note if you are sick. They only consider it that way. Okay, that's it from my side.
All right, guys. So I'll be talking about the resources you guys have to use. So first of all, lectures. The lectures are the best source for you to study. Honestly, like anything they ask you in the slide test or anything they ask you in the final exam, everything is in the lectures. And secondly, you can use the handbook, which is just for quick revision. For example, you don't have time on the weekend, then you just read the handbook. But it just has the necessary information. It does not have all the information, so do not depend on it. And then we have the microscopy practice. It is essential for mastering histology. So always like, even if you're bored in the practical class, just like make sure that you're looking at the slides under the microscope, just like, don't look at the professor blankly doing nothing. And then the recorded video lectures on Moodle under practical classes. These are video lectures recorded by the professors, and they are explaining all the slides which you have to identify in your exams. And these are really good because what the professors like to ask during the exam. So yeah, keep an eye on that. As well as this, we also have some YouTube channels. You can watch Shotgun Histology for your slide test, and it's really good. And for embryology, I want to say that it's really important to understand the concepts. As Ria said, you cannot cram it in 1 week. You have to give it time, especially because it's a whole new subject. It's not like, oh, I'll wake up like 2 days before the exam and start studying. No, especially Ninja Nerd, you have to watch Ninja Nerd before going for an embryo exam. Otherwise, it's just there's no use of going to the exam. And Krish, next. Yeah, so just for idea about the final exams, it's divided into two parts. First part is on the iPad. It's an e-test with 40 multiple choice questions, and it has everything. You can expect anything coming from anywhere. So yeah, it's pretty detailed. So you have to make sure you give your histo final exam proper amount of time. And second part is just you pick three questions to answer, similar to anatomy. You just choose your triplet and then you answer your questions. Why this matters is because last minute cramming, it is not a good idea. Like I said, you need to give it time, at least because if you're consistent throughout the semester, then you will be able to do it in around 2 weeks. But if you're not consistent throughout the week, throughout the semester, then you have to start from zero again, and that can take a lot of time. And best strategy, as it says here, study alongside micros to stay on track. So yeah, you better study consistently throughout the semester, otherwise final time, chaos. So yeah, that's about my part.
Okay, so the key things that you have to remember is that stick to the schedule. No one is going to remind you in class what test you're going to be having, especially for embryo, like I said. So make sure you look at the schedule on Moodle beforehand in the semester so you can plan everything accordingly. You must practice identifying the slides on microscope because this is the only thing that's going to get you through your slide test, and especially for final slide because you are probably not going to be in touch with the slides you did in winter semester. And of course, you do have fingerland, but practicing it in real life makes a bigger difference. Lectures are your main preparation source for the semester. They are really nice for histology and embryology, especially for embryology. Like the lectures is all you have to study. Like that's the main thing you have to focus on. And like we have been stressing, consistency is the key for both histology and embryology. So you have to keep on revising it continuously and do not think that you can cram it right before your exam and go for it. It's not going to work out. Start preparing early for your finals as well, because if you end up cramming everything and then you're most likely to like end up forgetting a few things and forgetting the details, and details is what is going to be asked in your the pre-oral, like the iPad test. Okay, do you guys have any questions about anything? All right, then. Thank you so much for joining, everyone, and we hope to see you soon.